Spring is here and I am ready for everything to feel fresh and clean after being cooped up all winter. There are areas of my kitchen that are not feeling their best. We eat almost every snack and meal at home, so today I just want to give it a little bit of attention since it works so hard for my family and because I spend most of my day in the kitchen. This morning I'm going to be giving my kitchen a good clean, declutter some cabinets, clean up my fridge, and just generally freshen things up for spring. But before we start that, I need to get my bread started so that it has enough time to rise before lunch. I'm adding in some sourdough discard here. This isn't a sourdough discard recipe, but I do like to throw some in whenever I have extra, just because I hate to waste it. It's just flour and water, so it's not going to affect the recipe much, but I do feel better that it's going to some use rather than just getting tossed out. I've been baking my own bread for about a decade. I make almost all of my family's bread products now, but I just started milling my own grain, and so far I'm loving it. I'm using einkorn in this recipe, and the flavor is so good. It's sweet and kind of nutty. It has been quite the transition switching to einkorn because I've been using the same tried and true bread recipes forever. And it's definitely been a process trying to figure out how to change them appropriately because I'm finding that the einkorn behaves a little bit differently than the old store-bought flour. It needs less water, and I find that things don't get quite as fluffy as they did before. And I don't know if that's user error or if that's just the nature of the einkorn. I'm making rolls today because they only need around an hour to rise before I bake them, so they're pretty much my go-to when I need bread in a hurry. They're also delicious, so that's a plus. Now I'm going to let them rise for a bit in the warm oven while I get to work on the kitchen. I'm going to start in my pantry. It's not actually a terrible mess, but I do find that I need to go through it every so often just because it's so deep and things get lost in the back. And sometimes we'll have multiples of things, or I'll just forget what's back there because I can't see it. I am grateful actually to have such a deep pantry because we've lived in other houses where there was no pantry and we were just making do with a cabinet, or it did have a pantry but it was just teeny tiny and you could hardly fit anything in it. So even though it is hard to access some of the things in the back, I am happy to be able to fit things in there. Here on the very bottom shelf is where I keep a lot of my big jugs, apple cider vinegar, regular vinegar, honey. Today I found 2 jugs of vinegar that were both partially used, so I'm just pouring one into the other to consolidate them so that I just have one instead of 2. Here's even more multiples, in this case crackers. My kids have a habit of looking for something, and if they don't immediately find it, they open a new one, and then everything over time gets pushed to the back. So we forget that we have them or don't know that we have them, and then they just sit there forever and never get used. So that's why I need to go through here every once in a while just to make sure there's nothing sitting back there going to waste. This next area is a little desk that we don't use as a desk. The drawers have things like sandwich bags and parchment paper. Underneath we've got our bin of sweet potatoes. We've got our Berkey on top because it's really the only place that makes sense for it in the kitchen. But the rest of it is really my husband's morning stuff. So he's got bags of coffee and his coffee maker. I don't drink coffee, so that's all him. He's got his protein powder and some supplements, everything that he is looking to grab first thing in the morning. So all of this stuff is kind of out on the desk right now, but when we go to redo this area, it will have a home that makes sense, but this is sort of what we're working with at the moment. So there isn't a lot of organizing that needs to be done. It really just needs a good clean, a good wipe down. Now we're moving on to the fridge. It has been several weeks since I cleaned out the fridge, so it was in desperate need. I normally like to clean it section by section, so I'll do a door and then another door, and then I'll take the main part of the fridge a shelf at a time. And with each section that I do, I will take all the shelves out, wash them in the sink, wipe down the inside areas of the fridge, and then hopefully put everything back in a more organized manner. I ended up finding a ton of cheese on every shelf, in every drawer, so it was nice to get everything organized in one place in a way that made sense, because now I can actually find it all. It just feels so much better in here. I know where everything is, and it's just much easier to find what I need. Now that the inside's done, it's time to clean off the outside. When we purchased this refrigerator and the dishwasher that goes with it, it claimed to be smudge proof, which was very important to me because wiping smudgy fingerprints off of stainless steel is not my favorite thing to do. But I don't think their advertising was quite true, because I still get a ton of fingerprints and I'm wiping these things down all the time. Now the rolls are done rising, and I'm brushing the tops of them with milk. I like to do this because it keeps the tops nice and soft. When I don't do this, sometimes the tops will get sort of crispy while they're baking, and I just prefer a softer roll. And I'll just pop them in the oven for about 15 minutes and they'll be done. To go with the rolls, I'm making a really simple soup. So I'm just pouring in the macaroni noodles so they have a chance to boil while I get started on decluttering these two cabinets over here. This cabinet is where we keep our drinking glasses and mugs. So what I want to do today is get rid of a few mugs that we just don't use, and a bunch of wine glasses that were left behind by the previous owners. We're not big drinkers, so in the several months that we've lived here, we've not taken them out once. They're really just taking up space, and I do actually need that space for things that we do use. So I'm going to donate all of those just to give us a little bit more breathing room in this cabinet, because things were starting to feel a little bit tight. This is the cabinet that we keep our plates and bowls in, but you can see that part of it was taken over by these wine glasses that we never use. So I'm taking those out, and I'm going to add in these bowls that we do actually use. So they're going to go in here where it's a lot easier to reach them. Here's everything that I took out of the cabinets. It was quite a few wine glasses that we would likely never use. I'm just going to box them up so that we can run them down to the thrift shop next time that we're out. Now my rolls are done. You can sort of see that they're not super fluffy on top. I am used to them rising at least up to the lip of my cast iron skillet here. These einkorn ones just do not get as tall. It doesn't really matter because they're still soft and delicious, but it is something that we're having to get used to. Now, this is a soup that my mom used to make all the time when I was a kid, and it's really great because you can use a lot of leftovers. So we had leftover peas, and this chicken was also left over, and I just threw it all in there. My kids really like this, and I know I called it a soup. There's not really a whole lot of broth or anything in there because my kids don't really eat it. They like the stuff in soup, but not the soupy part itself. This is just a really simple meal, something really easy to throw together. It doesn't take a whole lot of thought, and it's delicious. So now it's after lunch and I've cleared away all of the lunch things, and I'm getting ready to tackle this grape garland and these lights that are on top of the counter. They've been here since we moved in, and I just have not taken the time to climb up and remove them, but today is the day. This definitely needed to come down. It feels a lot more open up there now, not to mention clean. I am wondering about this copper that you see up along the wall here. You can see that it sort of patinaed differently where the grape garland was touching it. Some of those parts are still really bright and shiny, whereas other parts are a little bit darker where it was exposed to air. And I don't know if I should leave it even though it looks kind of splotchy, or if I should clean it all up so that it can patina evenly over time. I'm not really sure, so I'm still thinking about that. Now everything down here is a little bit dusty from taking down the garland, so I'm just wiping everything down. And I've got the self-cleaning function on right now on my oven. I have such a hard time with that because I am constantly using my oven because we are eating every single meal at home, so it feels like there's not a great time to start that. But I did decide to take the time to do that today. We should have enough rolls left over from lunch to have with dinner too, so I won't necessarily need the oven to make dinner with. I'm just going to wipe down the cabinets, get all those drips and spills that are on there, and sweep up the floor, and then I will be done cleaning the kitchen. It's such a beautiful day today, so the kids and I went outside and picked some flowers. I love that there are so many flowers on this property. I really appreciate the time that the previous owners took to plant all of these because it seems like every week something new is popping up. I'm making a really simple arrangement. We probably should have gotten more to make it a little bit fuller, but this is what we ended up with, so we're gonna go with it. I do love bringing flowers in whenever they're in bloom because it just makes whatever space they're in feel so fresh and lovely. Thank you so much for coming along with me. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and subscribe to see more. I'll see you next time.